Alright, gather round, adventurers. I have a story to tell you. Once upon a time in the land of fantasy, where chosen ones rise and dark lords fall, there lived an orc named Viv. And Viv, after years of smashing skulls, swinging swords, and chasing after other people's quests, woke up one morning and said, "You know what? I'm tired. I just want a good cup of coffee." And with that, she laid down her blade, picked up a dream, and decided to open one of the world's first coffee shops. No ancient evils to defeat, no magic artifacts to recover, just beans to roast, friendships to brew, and maybe, just maybe, a new life to build. That's the heart of Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, a book that's not about saving the world, but about making your little corner of it better. I picked up this book after hearing whispers that it wasn't your typical fantasy ride, that it didn't scream for your attention with battles and betrayals, but instead wrapped you up gently like a warm blanket straight from the dryer. And let me tell you, after the past few weeks, that was exactly the kind of magic I needed. At its heart, Legends and Lattes is about choosing peace over glory, and finding magic in the quiet moments. Viv, our battle-scarred orc heroine, has spent years chasing danger and fortune. She swung her sword, fought her battles, and made her name. And now? She's ready for something different, something simple, something hers. She rolls into a dusty little town where no one's ever heard of coffee, where the idea of sitting down with a hot drink and a sweet pastry is as foreign as flying carpets. And it's here where she decides this is it. This is where she'll plant her roots. But building a dream isn't as easy as slaying a necromancer. Viv's gotta find allies, and she does, in the most charming ways. There's Cal, the carpenter with hands of gold and a gentle soul. There's Tandri, the succubus barista in training whose heart is bigger than her horns. And Thimble, the ratkin baker who doesn't just bake pastries, he creates small acts of worship disguised as cinnamon rolls. And let's be honest, he completely stole my heart. Together they transform an abandoned stable into something magical. Not through spells or enchantments, but through hard work, trust, and the slow, beautiful alchemy of building a community. And yes, there are hints of adventure. There are old enemies and shady businessmen, and little flickers of magic humming underneath it all. But the real quest here isn't to defeat some villain, it's to build something lasting, something good. Legends and Lattes is often called a slice of life fantasy, and that's true. But don't mistake low stakes for low impact. Watching Viv chase her dreams feels just as important, just as urgent as any battle for the fate of a kingdom. Maybe even more important, because it's about the kind of victories that actually change lives. It's warm, it's rich, it's cozy. It's a fantasy novel that invites you not to rush toward the ending, but to savor the journey, one loving brewed cup at a time. So is Legends and Lattes actually good? In a word, absolutely. But it's the kind of good that's easy to underestimate if you're only thinking about fantasy in the clashing swords and crumbling kingdoms way. This book doesn't roar to life like a dragon. It hums. It bubbles quietly like a pot of coffee just starting to brew. And if you're willing to slow down and listen to it, it's kind of magical. First off, the characters. Travis Baldree could have gotten away with simple archetypes. A strong orc, a sultry succubus, a wise old gnome. But he didn't. Instead, he gives us people who feel real, layered, and deeply kind. Characters who make you want to linger a little longer, who make you want to pull up a chair in that coffee shop and listen to them talk about their lives, their worries, and their tiny triumphs. And it's not just the people, it's the vibe. The feeling that even small things, a new table built by hand, a carefully crafted cup of coffee, a friendship slow blooming into something more, they all matter. That in a world obsessed with grand gestures and epic battles, maybe consistency, kindness, and a killer cinnamon roll are radical in their own way. Now, because I promised an honest review, Legends and Lattes isn't perfect. If you're someone who craves poetic, mind-blowing prose, this might feel just a little simple. Baldree's writing is clean and straightforward, it gets the job done, but is not here to dazzle you with metaphor fireworks. I was also hoping for a little more sensory indulgence. I wanted the pages to smell like roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries. I wanted lush descriptions that made me practically taste the hazelnut foam and feel the cinnamon sugar melting on my tongue. And while there are a few delicious moments, thank you, Thimble, it doesn't always lean into that cozy food fantasy as hard as it could have. Also, if you're looking for heavy twists, shocking betrayals, or big plot reveals, well, that's not the brew Baldree is serving here. This story is less about what happens and more about how it feels to build something and to belong. So I can picture a lot of people reading the series and going, but where's the plot? However, those critiques don't feel like flaws as much as quirks of the blend. You don't walk into a cozy cafe looking for fireworks. You go because you want a place to breathe, to settle in, to sip something warm and good and know, even just for a little, that everything is going to be okay. And that's exactly what Legends Lattes delivers. Now the real question. Should you read Legends Lattes? Well, it kind of depends on what you're craving. If you're looking for your next dose of brutality, political intrigue, and gods throwing mountains at each other, other levels of epicness, this isn't that book. Viv isn't here to save the kingdom. Tandri isn't secretly a spy for a hidden empire. Thimble isn't going to turn out to be the lost heir to a throne. And honestly, thank the book gods for that. Because Legends Lattes is about the kind of heroism we don't talk about enough. The quiet bravery it takes to step off the well-trodden path. The courage it takes to build instead of destroy. The magic hidden in saying, this is what I want, this is who I want to be. If you love stories that are fueled more by character than by catastrophe, if you've ever wanted a fantasy world where the biggest stakes are whether the new furniture arrives on time or whether the first real customer will ever walk through the door, then this book is tailor-made for you. It's also the perfect balm if you've been feeling a little worn thin by the world lately. There's something deeply healing about reading a story where hard work, kindness, and small acts of connection aren't just nice, but they matter. They change lives. And if you're the kind of reader who loves a bit of a slow burn romance, there's a subtle, very subtle, lovely thread of that too. A budding relationship between Viv and Tandri that's never loud or performative, never angsty or tortured. It just is. It's organic. It's a romance built on mutual respect, quiet admiration, and friendship first. And it's refreshingly normal in a genre that sometimes likes to crank up the drama to 11. So, should you read Legends Lattes? If you want a story that'll wrap you up like a warm scarf, tuck a cinnamon bun in your hand, and remind you that building something good is a messy world, is an act of quiet rebellion, then yes. Yes, you absolutely should. Legends Lattes isn't a story about epic battles, earth-shattering magic, or ancient evils rising from the grave. It's about something rare. And honestly, maybe even a little braver. It's about choosing peace when you could have chosen war. It's about dreaming of a better life, even when the world has only ever handed you violence. And it's about finding a family, not through blood or battle, but through cups of coffee, shared dreams, and acts of everyday kindness. This book didn't crash into my life like a comet. It drifted in, soft, steady, and gentle, and then stayed. And honestly, I think that's even more impressive. I won't pretend that it's perfect. Like any good latte, it might not be for everyone's taste. Some readers will find it too quiet, too slow, and maybe even too small. But for me, I think for a lot of you out there, Legends Lattes is a reminder that stories don't have to scream to be powerful. Sometimes the softest books leave the deepest impressions. And sometimes the bravest thing a hero can do is hang up their sword, open a coffee shop, and build something beautiful, one day at a time. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because every subscriber inches me one step closer to taking over the Galaxies. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and I'll see you in the next one.